Have you ever felt that no matter how much you change places, people, routine, something inside you remains incomplete? Like you're always looking for something, but don't know exactly what. Carl Jung believed that real life only begins the moment we actually meet. Not the I we show others, but the I that is hidden behind fears, memories, and masks. In this video, you will dive into a deep journey about identity, soul, and the awakening of the true self, a journey beyond psychology, towards the center of being. The persona, the mask, you mistook for your soul. Have you ever felt like you're playing a role? Not a role in the theater, but in life, smiling when you don't want to smile, being kind when everything inside you screams for space, feigning confidence when, in fact, it is falling apart inside. Carl Jung called this social adaptation persona. The persona is the mask we wear not to deceive, but to survive. Since childhood, we have learned that love can be conditional. Don't cry like that. Nobody likes a crying child. Be strong, do not show weakness. Boys don't cry. Girls should be delicate. These phrases seem harmless, but they build brick by brick an invisible prison. The child learns that he needs to be something else to be loved, and so the mask is born, and so dies, slowly, the spontaneity of the soul. The persona itself is not the problem. It helps us navigate the world. It's the suit we wear to work. It's the polite language in the supermarket. It's the smile for the neighbor. But the problem starts when you forget that you are wearing a mask, when you spend so much time being acceptable that you no longer know what it is to be authentic, when it starts to feel strange inside your own skin, as if living in someone else's body. And then the symptoms arise, the anxiety that doesn't cease, the insomnia that insists, the constant feeling of inadequacy, even when everything seems right. Jung believed that all suffering that we do not understand is a message from the soul muffled by the persona. The more we ignore it, the more it screams, and the scream often manifests as depression, addiction, apathy, or a deep existential void. The way back begins with a nagging question: if I cease to please, will I still be loved? It's a scary question, because it implies recognizing that perhaps, for years, you have built a life based on other people's expectations. But it's also a liberating question, because all healing begins with the truth. And the truth is, you weren't born to be a mask. You were born to be a whole human being. The unconscious, the place where you hide from yourself. Do you believe you know yourself? You know what you like, what you want, who you are. Carl Jung would say that you know only a small part of who you really are, the visible part, the conscious part. But there is something much bigger under the surface, a silent, dense, and mysterious ocean, where your traumas live, your denied desires, your forgotten memories. This place is called unconscious. Do not think of the unconscious as a simple archive of the mind. He's alive, active, and it often controls your life while you believe you are in charge. It is the unconscious that chooses the same kind of partner even after swearing to never again. It is he who makes you sabotage opportunities, run away from success, reject the love you want so much. Why? Because the unconscious is not committed to your comfort. He is committed to their integration. He wants you to see what he's avoiding. He wants you to accept the parts of yourself that you have repressed for years. Imagine a man who was taught from an early age to be strong, to never show emotion. He buries his pain, swallows his tears, puts on the armor. But this pain does not go away. It descends into the basement of the mind, and there it turns into pent-up anger, into chronic anxiety, into emotional detachment. The unconscious then begins to send signals, strange dreams, repeated situations, people who seem to activate old triggers. All this is no coincidence. It is the symbolic language of the psyche. It's the unconscious trying to communicate with you. Jung said, "Ani, that which you do not bring to consciousness returns as destiny. Do you think you are being unlucky? Persecuted by cruel standards? Maybe it's just your unconscious guiding you, painfully, into yourself. And the cure? It starts with listening, with dreams written down, with intentional silence, with therapy, meditation, writing. You will not overcome the unconscious, but you can make peace with him. And when this happens, something extraordinary begins. You cease to be a prisoner of your unconscious repetitions, and he begins to walk, for the first time, as a whole being. The shadow. What you judge in others is what you hide in yourself. Carl Jung gave a powerful name to what we try to ignore inside us. The shadow. The shadow is not a mystical concept. It's real. It lives in every judgment you make, in every person you can't stand, in every other attitude that angers you deeply. Jung shows us that the shadow is formed by everything that, at some point in life, we have learned to reject in ourselves. Anger, envy, fragility, ambition, sensuality, selfishness. They are natural parts of the human experience. But they were banished to the basements of the psyche because we learned that they were not acceptable. And so, instead of recognizing them, we design them. What does that mean? It means that we begin to see in others what we do not want to see in ourselves. We criticize the arrogance of others, but we ignore our secret vanity. We despise the egoism of others, while sabotaging our own limits in search of acceptance. The shadow is like a broken mirror. Each fragment reflects a piece of who we are, but distorted. And when we don't recognize it, it controls us. She explodes in fits of rage. It manifests itself in destructive relationships. It chooses for us, even if we think we are in control. But Jung did not see the shadow as something negative. He saw it as an invitation. Because when we have the courage to look at her, to sit with what hurts, to accept what we reject, we begin to recover lost pieces of our soul. This is individuation. Do not become perfect, but become whole. Therefore, the path of conscience requires brutal honesty. Look inside and ask, what am I criticizing out there that actually lives in me? When you start doing this, the world ceases to be a battlefield, and it becomes a mirror, reflecting not what you hate, but what you need to cure. The shadow is not the enemy. She's the part of you that wants to be seen the most. And when you hold her, she turns, in power, in freedom, in light. The call of the soul. When outer life is no longer enough, there is a moment, silent and inevitable. Life, as it is, no longer feeds us. Work that once made sense now feels mechanical. Relationships start to feel like repetitions. The routine turns into a theater of survival. Carl Jung called it the call of the soul. This is not an external crisis. It's an internal rupture, a deep feeling that something inside you is asleep and needs to wake up. The soul, as Jung saw it, is that part of us that desires meaning, not just success. It wants authentic expression, not just social acceptance. It desires integration of all that we are, not just the beautiful part we show the world. But when we ignore this call, the unconscious finds ways to wake us up. Sometimes it comes in the form of unexplained anxiety, others in insomnia, nameless sadness, or a sense that we are living a life that is not our own. And then we began to search. We read books we would never think of reading. We are attracted to symbols, mythologies, spirituality. It is the soul trying to guide consciousness to something greater, something truer. But this call does not come without cost. To serve you, you need to let go of the persona, the social mask we build to survive. We must confront choices we have made based on fear and the desire for approval. It takes courage to say, this life I built no longer represents me. It's not easy, but it's liberating, because the call of the soul is above all an invitation to return home, into yourself. This is where deep questions finally gain ground. Who am I? What moves me? Why am I here? Jung believed that when the soul calls, not to answer is to get sick. But when we hear, When we follow this invisible trail that leads to the heart of our being, we begin to really live. Life ceases to be survival, and it becomes authenticity. It is the beginning of a new stage where you no longer live as others expect, but how you were born to be. When you meet, life begins. There is a point in the journey where everything resignifies. The pains that shaped you, the masks you wore, the wrong choices, the silences endured, the nights when you felt like nothing made sense. All this does not disappear, but transforms. Carl Jung did not promise a happy ending. He promised integration, a life not perfect, but whole, where the good and evil within you cease to be enemies, and they become parts of the same being, walking in the direction of truth. When you meet, it's not like discovering a new me. It is as if you are recognizing someone who has always been there, hidden under layers of fear, shame, and expectation. You do not become another. You become yourself for the first time. And then, something magical happens. Life changes, but not because the world has changed. It's because the look has changed. You stop seeking approval. Stop living other people's stories. Finally, he begins to write his own. Your choices come from a real place. No need, no compulsion, but alignment with its essence. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you really are." And when that moment comes, you discover that the inner world is too vast to be ignored. From there, what was once repetition becomes creation. What was once pain becomes wisdom. And what was empty before becomes presence. Because life, true life, it doesn't start when everything is in place. It begins when you are whole within yourself. Because living is not hiding behind masks, nor repeat the same voids. To live is to gather the forgotten pieces, embrace the shadows, and finally, remember yourself. True life does not begin in the outside world. It starts the moment you meet again. There, in the broken mirror, his name appears, and for the first time, you recognize yourself.